Good evening, I'm Leanne Gerari. Welcome to the program. For the United States, it's the New York Stock Exchange, located on the famous Wall Street. For London, it's the London Stock Exchange. For our neighbors in the Pacific, take Fiji for instance, it's the South Pacific Stock Exchange. Nevertheless, Papua New Guinea also has its very own stock exchange. Although it's fairly small in terms of structure, the Port Moresby Stock Exchange, or POMSOX as it's widely known, has facilitated the stockbroking and the trade of shares of some of the country's largest corporations and enterprises. Tonight, we'll be talking to POMSOX regarding their operations. Here is Jeff Mason, the General Manager for POMSOX.
Jeff, it's good to see you.
Thank you, Andy. A pleasure to be here.
Jeff, what is the role of POMSOX?
Okay, the role, just I guess briefly, a lot of people I know, but a lot of people don't also. POMSOX has two functions. We provide a market for the share brokers to trade into, and we often get phone calls from people saying, how do we buy shares? We obviously put them onto the share broker so they can do it for them, but we also get people ringing up to say, I want to buy shares, thinking that we are the people who actually buy and sell shares. So the POMSOX first function is to provide a market, and the second function is to regulate that market via our business rules and listing rules.
Right.
And obviously we've been sanctioned by the Securities Commission of PNG as an approved stock exchange, and we're the only one in PNG.
So what's the structure of your shareholding?
Okay, we've got 4 shareholders. Our major shareholders are BSP Capital and Kina Securities, who are our 2 approved share brokers. And we have 2 individuals with just very small shareholdings. And one thing I'd also like to add is the benefit of dealing through our share brokers, the approved brokers, BSP Capital and Kina Securities. As I said, they're the only brokers who have been approved by us, and therefore the people who are dealing or work within those brokers actually have reached a minimum education standard that we're happy with. And they also have to sit a test that we make them sit, which covers all our rules. So the business rules of the stock exchange covers the dealings between the brokers and their clients, and they give effectively a good investor protection because the rules have legal status behind them. The Corporations Law says, or the Securities Act says that you must apply to the rules. So anyone who's not dealing with a broker, a recognised broker, actually doesn't have that benefit or investor protection behind them. So it's a very important thing to remember or to keep in mind when you want to go and buy or sell shares.
Now, I understand you have a small portfolio of listings. What are you doing to grow this?
Yeah, I guess you look over the time since we started at 98, we've actually had quite a lot of listings which have been taken over and disappeared that way. So if all the listings we started with were there now and we've got all the new ones, we'd probably be up to around 40 or 50 share companies, but for various reasons they disappeared. Look, it's not an easy process obviously to attract new listings. It's just a matter of getting out there and promoting the benefits of being listed on the stock exchange, and over time we're hoping that the more listings we get, it'll bring more to it as well. So hopefully the old snowball effect.
Now, what other services are you bringing into this market?
Okay, I guess one of the major ones we do, which has been really one of the functions since we first started, is promoting the stock exchange via first or introduction to share broking investments via POMSOX. We go out to all the regional capitals around PNG, along with our 2 brokers, BSP Capital and Kina Securities, and the central bank, and we just go through the process of trying to educate people the benefits of benefit of investment, and how you go about it, and just the returns that you can get off it by being a prudent investor. One thing we're also doing hopefully in the next year, is we're going to have an intermediary seminar, so it's a next level up. So people who have been to the production investment seminars, you can go to the next one, so we'll learn a bit more.
So education.
Education's a big thing because over time you educate the population, and hopefully with the increased wealth that people hopefully will get, it'll give them the benefit and knowledge how to invest that money that they're getting and get some returns off it.
You also have some strategies to increase financial literacy as well.
Well, part of that is, yes, obviously what we're doing now, going out to the around the provinces. We're also looking at, through our business plan, we're looking to introduce some courses into schools, and hopefully that'll then start right at the younger ages to get them going.
What's the relationship between yourselves and South Pacific Stock Exchange, and are you looking at working a bit closer together?
There's no direct relationship at the moment, and obviously I think we're all in the same region. It would make a lot of sense to have one stock exchange over the whole area. I'd see that with the South Pacific Exchange, you'd still have that over there in Fiji. We'd have ours here, but we're all working under the same sort of systems and rules and things. So you get the synergies of between the two businesses, but would also cover a much wider area than each exchange covers now.
Because I gather the Pacific would be a much smaller economy base for what you.
Well, it is, and I guess PNG is very lucky with all the resources and oils and things that have up here, which hasn't spread to the other countries. So the one thing about you have your Fiji and Solomon Islands, that you'd actually get a different class of listing. We're very reliant on the exploration and mining here, whereas I think a good exchange needs a lot of sectors, so people could trade between sectors and get a lot more benefits that way.
So probably some more interest from the manufacturing or the other.
I mean, there's nothing stopping manufacturing companies listing here, but I think just bigger, having an umbrella over it would give us a bigger region to run our business.
Thank you so much, Jeff Mason, for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
When we come back, we talk to Frank Dunphy, the chairman of POMSOX. Stay with us. Welcome back. Although they're in the business of facilitating for stockbroking and the buying and selling of shares, the Port Moresby Stock Exchange are also on a mission to build capacity in the area of financial inclusion. Apart from facilitating for trading and stockbroking, improving financial literacy has also been key for POMSOX. Again, here's Anya with Frank Dunphy, the chairman of POMSOX.
I've got with me Frank Dunphy, the chairman of Port Moresby Stock Exchange. Frank, welcome.
Thank you very much, Anya. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Frank, what is POMSOX putting in place? What are your strategies for going forward?
Anya, one of our central strategies is really centralised on capacity building for the communities. So we're looking at programs that will support the financial inclusion programs that the Governor is putting forward through the central bank. So financial literacy is key for us. We need to build strong competencies in the communities with which we work so that we can have a viable and credible market. So we've got programs designed to suit private investors and individuals, to suit press and journalists so that we can upskill them, so that their reporting standards and levels are stronger and better, so that they can better support the listed entities as they report. Likewise, we've got programs where we intend to bring various people from the listed entities themselves into our offices, give them upskilling and training in terms of our business rules and the obligations that they place upon their entities.
Great strategies. Are there also new growth markets that you're looking at?
Anya, we're really excited about the markets we've been able to identify in New Guinea. Our listing rules have been very traditional in financial market sense. They've mirrored the ASX rules from Australia. We're looking to revise those rules so that they better suit the style and nature of enterprise that we're identifying in New Guinea. We've identified some really key sectors, and the Governor of the Central Bank, Governor Bakani, has also identified these agriculture is very key. It's a key initiative in New Guinea at the moment, and we think we can provide listing rules that accommodate the unique nature and style of the enterprises in agriculture. As an example of that, we've now removed or reduced the shareholder thresholds for participation and listing. Once it was 300 shareholders. For an agricultural enterprise, that might be quite difficult to achieve. We've now removed that or reduced that down to 50 shareholders.
Right.
So we're excited about agriculture. We see great opportunities in infrastructure in this country, both in roads, in water, power, sustainable technologies and so on. If we can build a credible listing environment for projects, then we believe they will attract capital. Likewise, we are deeply involved in the development of secondary markets to trade government debt and securities. At the moment, there are informal markets that are very difficult to access for private investors or institutional investors, but it's a very large and active potential market. So we're looking to regulate the secondary market in that area and create some activity. We're very confident we'll do that. Also, when we visit listed entities and companies that are looking to list, one of the key things they ask us is whether they can list corporate debt. There's no reason why we can't list corporate debt. It's a matter of educating the entities, the investment community, including the brokers, to generate the demand. We've got the environment in which we can regulate those securities. So it's some really exciting initiatives.
So there's, you see a lot of growth and a lot of potential for growth in the future, obviously.
Look, we've identified a variety of markets that we see strong potential growth from our perspective. Once again, the capacity building we've spoken about will support the endeavours of government and private investors. So if we can build those foundations strongly, then the investment opportunities and the growth in those in PNG, I believe, are very strong.
And what's your ultimate key outcome?
Oh, look, the key outcome for us really is to create a viable, regulated, credible and robust market that is recognised as being credible in terms of its levels of corporate governance and transparency. If we're able to do that, then we will be able to create an environment in which debt is cheaper for listed entities looking to raise it, where equity is cheaper for those who are looking to raise new capital, and ultimately where we create an avenue for foreign capital to enter this country. It'll create a confidence for foreign investors.
Okay, and also generate some access to
that's right. So it's about linking the PNG projects in an appropriate way to appropriately sourced pools of capital from offshore.
Thank you so much for your time, Frank.
More on the show when we come back. The Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce and Industry hosted a breakfast last month on the eve of the Independence Day weekend with the theme of freedom of information and combating corruption. Visiting our shores on this special occasion was the chairman of the Commonwealth Foundation and the advisory group chairman to Transparency Group New Zealand, Sir Anand Satyanand. Sir Anand spoke about freedom of information and how an Enforced Information Act could make it more difficult for those who engage in corrupt acts. Here's David Conn with the interview.
With me in the studio, I have a special guest for our Independence Chamber breakfast, Sir Anand Satyanand, the former Governor-General of New Zealand, patron of New Zealand TI, and the chairman of the Commonwealth Foundation. Sir Anand, welcome to the Royal Papua Yacht Club and to Port Moresby.
David, thank you for your welcome and those of the more than 100 people who came to the breakfast this morning.
Thank you. And also with me in the studio, the chairman of TI PNG, Laurie Stevens. Laurie, welcome.
Thanks very much, David.
No stranger to the programme and no stranger to Port Moresby either. Sir Anand, delightful to have you with us this morning and speak to the Chamber breakfast. The purpose of your visit to Papua New Guinea?
Has been principally to connect with the TI chapter people here. We work with the PNG chapter in New Zealand reasonably closely, and occasions arise during the year for us to appraise what each other are doing and to encourage them in that respect.
Lawrence, that collaboration with New Zealand TI, is it strong? What sort of work are you doing together with them?
Well, there's a number of things, but yes, the short answer is yes, it's very strong. They have an enthusiastic group of pure volunteers who are working there. They're assisting us, for example, in our relationship with New Zealand. New Zealand Aid gives us assistance and other Pacific chapters. They're assisting us work together across the Pacific, and they're watching us with interest. In fact, we've had one person from there in the last few weeks with us, helping us look at our own organisation and see how we could improve on it. So there's a number of ways there.
Anything we can teach them?
Well, they seem to be a bit fascinated by the walk against corruption, for one, by the support that the corporate community are giving us. They've been interested in that.
I agree. The way in which TI in PNG has galvanised public opinion and the support of the business community is an excellent thing to observe and is to be emulated.
The Chamber has this entity called Business Against Corruption Alliance, which is an initiative with TI PNG and was originally funded by the British government through the High Commission here. Is there a similar thing in New Zealand?
No, we don't have a counterpart to that BACA organisation, and I think that that will bear consideration. One of the difficulties that we have in New Zealand, it might seem odd from where we sit, but New Zealand occupies, as was said, a position at the top of the non-corruption index, which means...
It's still sitting at number one, isn't it?
Yeah, it still is one equal. But it is quite difficult to get engagement with the general community because of what can almost be described as comfort or even complacency about the fact that we hold that position. But as the world goes on at the moment and New Zealand seeks to trade in different countries from those which it used, the matter of dealing with environments that have corruption in them is going to be a challenge for our companies and state-owned enterprises.
Personally, I don't think you should take that as complacency in New Zealand. I think they're just getting on with running the place pretty well. I think that's what it is. The other thing, I think the main thrust of you and people who are interested here, freedom of information legislation. We don't have it in Papua New Guinea. Do you have it in New Zealand, I assume?
Yes, we've had freedom of information legislation for 30 years, since the beginning of the 1980s, and it arose as a result of a commission that was charged with categorising the information that it was obtained by the security intelligence people, and that committee came down with a thoroughgoing report about government information in total, and it suggested that there be a freedom of information piece of legislation which operated on the principle that information belongs to the people and ought to be obtained by them as a matter of right, save in the case that there was some suitable and appropriate withholding ground.
For our viewers, in that we don't have it, so what does it mean to a New Zealand citizen? What can he ask for and what will he rightfully get?
There's no limit to what can be asked for.
Okay.
Occasionally, quite often...
There's a limit to what you get.
There's a limit to what you get because of sensible barriers, if you like, of the right to privacy or the right for commercial information to be to remain not disclosed. But very often, there will be reasons in the public interest for something to be known about in general without the specific.
You were asked a question this morning also on an independent commission against corruption, and in Papua New Guinea we're going through that motion. Prime Minister O'Neill has promised there will be one. They're still looking at examples around the world. Some of us, I guess, are getting a little bit impatient how long you look. What's your thoughts on an independent commission?
Well, there are a number of states where that kind of office has been created, including in this part of the world. In at least 2 Australian states there are independent commissions. I think when corruption comes to register evidence of a clear kind, it is appropriate for governments to engage with a formal commission, and Hong Kong is another place that has an independent commission. It just focuses attention on corruption and the actions of the organisation provide a way in which corrupt activities can be brought to book.
Is there one in New Zealand?
No, there isn't.
There isn't.
Yeah.
How do you? There's been a few questions asked. I mean, the boundaries. I mean, how would an ombudsman gel with an ICAC? Are they different things, you think, or?
The only reason I'm pausing is that I'm thinking, as a lawyer does, about what is the main thing that the 2 organisations do.
Yeah.
I see ICAC as an investigative and prosecuting authority.
With the powers to
yes,
prosecute.
with the powers to investigate and to prosecute. An ombudsman, on the other hand, is an adjudicatory, but it receives complaints and makes recommendations. It doesn't quite
have
the
that power to
it's
prosecute,
probably not quite the correct fit. It would have the investigatory mechanisms, but not necessarily the ones that bring people to court.
Although there was quite a discussion a couple of years ago on the Maladina amendments, Laurie, where the ombudsman actually required to follow rules of law. You know, which I guess if you have an ICAC and an ombudsman, you're saying no, they can do it one way, and the ICAC has to do that by rule of law. Is that something that the TIPNG is actively lobbying for?
We have been, David. Just on the Ombudsman here, one distinction between the Ombudsman here and in many other places is the leadership code, which was written into
we were talking
our
about,
constitution.
Other countries don't have that element.
No,
Yeah.
it's another area in which PNG shows an example to its neighbours in the Pacific. That leadership code, which we were talking about, is a vital thing for every leader to have in mind as they go about their activities.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Something that didn't come up this morning, Sir Anand, is the work that TI and TI here are doing on the extractive industries index. Is that something that you're actively involved in? That we're still trying to get registered for that. Where are we with that?
Well, nationally, we're still heading towards it, but getting closer. There was a major conference organised in Sydney recently. The Australian government also gave support to a mining and development conference at the same time. PNG is looking at it, and clearly we need to look at it because we have much happening. The concept of mining companies publishing what they've given to government and government publishing what they've received is great. The possibility of the auditors then making sure they balance. Those things are excellent and we need it. It's just different countries are moving at different rates. We appear to be getting closer.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for speaking with the Chamber this morning. Wish you well, Laurie, obviously in your efforts here in Papua New Guinea. Surrounding to the next 200 days of the Commonwealth Foundation and your work there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David.
With me in the studio this morning after Chamber breakfast, Anand Satyanand, former Governor General of New Zealand, patron of TI New Zealand, and the chairman of the Commonwealth Foundation, the People's Organisation, and Laurie Stevens, our own chairman of TI-PNG.
And that winds up this edition of Business PNG. To access our programs online, log on to www.mtv.com.pg. Also, remember to send us your feedback via Facebook or email. Until the same time next week, have a good evening.